You may be going through a storm, but even in the midst of a battle that we're working through or challenges that we still have to be producing the fruit of the Spirit during the storm.
Yeah, and that can be so challenging, right? Like the last thing you feel like doing when you're down in the dumps or facing something hard is like think about love and joy and peace, right? Like that's not the headspace that we're in when we're in the midst of a storm. Yet, like it doesn't say in the Bible, when you're in a hard time, it's okay to be a grouch. Like it doesn't say that, unfortunately, for most of us, right?
No. And the fruit of the Spirit says love, joy, peace, kindness. Well, you don't feel like being kind when you're walking around in a thundercloud.
No, you really don't. When I think about that, the first thing that comes to my mind is like people who are hypocrites, right? Because we are hypocrites. And thank goodness for grace, and thank goodness for the gift of salvation that has been freely given to us.
We are redeemed.
Yeah, but we are hypocrites, right? We are supposed to love one another. We're supposed to exhibit all these fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, faithfulness, goodness, gentleness, and self-control. I think I got them all. But how many times do we walk around the absolute opposite, right? Like you just said, we still need to be kind, but how many times do we walk around and like treat the people driving around us like we're flipping them the bird, or we're like making grouchy faces at them, or we go to the grocery store and we can't even be bothered to smile and say hello to the cashier.
Yeah, like what's up with us?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I think that we have to take a dive into how do we find peace in the storm? How do we let go of all the noise? Because there's so much stuff coming at us. And when we're walking in through these challenges, we still want to develop and work on the fruit of the Spirit. And I'm going to say, if we're going through a storm, now's the time to start working through those and develop them. That's an opportunity. Instead of thinking that, this is such a drudgery, it's such a hard challenge to go through. Think about it as an opportunity that God is giving you and I to grow and develop. Whatever it is, maybe it's joy, maybe it's peace, maybe it's loving our enemies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yikes, right? Like we know those words. We know love your enemies. We know pray for those who persecute you. But when the rubber meets the road, those things are hard.
That's right.
Right? Like when somebody has truly
wronged
you or hurt you or upset you or whatever is happening in your life, the thought of praying for them is like enough to make your stomach turn sometimes.
That's right. And I'm going to say, my friend right now, she's a very dear friend of mine. In fact, I call her my best friend. She's going through a hard time because she's hurt by her adult children. And it's like, you just want to scream, or you want to tell them off, or you want to shake them and say, come on, listen to what I'm trying to say. But no, instead, she has to still think about her own, I'm going to say it's her own mental wellness, because often when we're going through a storm, it is about mental health. We have to work on our own mental health, and developing the fruits of the Spirit helps that. It's funny how the two are so linked together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like, she has to think, how can I love them? How can I let that hurt go? They're not trying to hurt me. How can I have peace in this storm?
If you've never been here before, welcome, or welcome back if you have. We're Ruth and Casey. We're a mother-daughter team, and really, truly, our goal here is to encourage you in your daily walk, to help you learn, to help you grow, because we know that as women of faith, we want to be deepening our walk with God each and every day. But we also know that there's practicality that happens in our life too, right? I remember years ago being in Bible study, and it was like we had all these lofty topics we were talking about, and it's like, but people are facing real issues right now today that they don't know how to deal with. And I remember saying this to the leaders. It's like, we need to talk about some relevant issues that are happening in the world today, because people don't know how to face what's happening, right? Like, it's great to do a study on the Bible. I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. That's awesome. But sometimes we need like the practicality of what the Bible says to add to our very real things that are happening in our life. Like your friend with her adult children. How do you cope with that? How do you find peace in the midst of that storm? How do you still produce the fruits of the Spirit when you're walking through the most challenging season of your life?
Well, I know. And so I'm going to say the first thing that we have talked about, what we believe we have to do is to choose. We have to make a decision. We make a choice that we're going to develop the fruit of the Spirit regardless of what we're going through. We might not like what's happening to us or what we're walking through.
It might be our worst fears come to life,
That's right.
It could be.
It certainly could be. But we have to choose to move forward, to live a life that is glorifying to Jesus regardless. And so that means that we have to step out of our comfort zone. We have to choose our heart. Our feelings have nothing to do with living out the fruit of the Spirit and keep on developing them. We have to love even if we don't feel like it. We need to be kind even when we don't feel like it. We need to
find joy.
Find joy, exactly. So like my good friend, how does she find joy? Well, I'm going to say she listens to positive things. She fills her mind with things that are noble and good and lovely and true. She reads good things.
Okay, but let's talk about that for a minute, because that's a huge point, right?
Yeah.
Putting good things into our minds is probably one of the most important things we can do. And, I hope for you that you have a friend or somebody in your life who can encourage you, because sometimes I think that is the biggest thing that we need when we're walking through a hard season is encouragement from somebody. They don't have to understand our situation, but if they know our situation and can encourage us through it, I think that gives us a lift up like almost nothing else.
That's right. And so if you have a good friend like that, where you can share and talk about your situation, not in a negative way, but sometimes you just need to get that off your chest. You need to talk about it a little bit, not gossiping, just you need to have some relief. And that's called psychotherapy. It's talk therapy. And so if you have a good friend, that is worth gold. If you don't have a good friend, maybe you need a counselor. Maybe you need someone to listen to you, because you need to be heard.
And in terms of other things that we're putting in, I think so many of us are so busy putting bad things in that maybe don't even seem bad, but they're bad for us, that we just have all of this negative. We often say garbage in, garbage out, right? That old saying, but we've heard it said garbage in, garbage stays, garbage multiplies, garbage has babies, and it just goes on and on and on, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's how those things in our head go, right? It goes in our head, the bad thoughts or the hard things, and then it just multiplies and it keeps growing and it grows and it grows and it grows until it's completely all consuming and we can't think about anything else. And so we have to choose to put something else in to start with, right? We've talked before about how our thoughts produce our feelings, which cause us to act, and our actions create our results. And so if you think about that process, it all starts with our thoughts. And so if our thoughts are just growing and ruminating on bad things and hard things, it just continues to spill over into everything that we do.
That's right.
And in fact, there's that verse that talks about the overflow of the heart, right? Out of the heart comes how does that go? I'll link it here because it's not coming out quite right, but I think you know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah. We really need to have those good inputs into our mind. That might mean for you listening to a good podcast or watching a sermon on YouTube or something that's really going to lift up your spirit.
Or subscribing to our channel.
That's the one we really want you to do today. But yeah, we need that good input into our minds. That's what the Bible refers to as renewing your mind. We need to have the pure good thoughts flowing through us so that we can keep on developing the fruit of the Spirit and to move on in faithfulness. Another thing that you can do for yourself is to put on some really good, uplifting, upbeat music. There's so many good Christian bands out there for us to listen to, or maybe you need something more soothing. There's lots of just worship music out there, but it can really lift our spirits. And that's what we need in order to have the peace in the midst of the storm. Sometimes we need to find a release where maybe we need a laugh. Maybe we need to cry, but we need to get some of that intense feeling out of ourselves so that we can just find some more peace. Like sometimes after you've had a good cry, you just feel better.
You do, yeah. In fact, we've often talked about like when we think about our emotions and releasing our emotions, there's actually a lot of like physical emotional releases that we have access to that are healthy, right? Versus like so many people eat their emotions, right? Emotional eating, we've all heard about that. And think about that. Your emotions need to come out. Your emotions don't need to get stuffed back in because they just stay there then, right? Versus like crying or laughing or going for a walk outside. Those are
expending energy.
Yeah, those are getting rid of, not getting rid of, but letting the emotion out. And so you got to find an outlet for yourself like that where you can let that emotion out so that you're not just like stuffing it further down.
Yeah, because that's going to take your mental health down. It's not going to help bring you up. And we need that, we need that resiliency. We need that bounce back ability so that when we are going through a storm, when we are going through a battle, we can make it through the battle. It's like Joyce Meyer says, sometimes God doesn't remove you from the situation, but God takes you through the situation and he walks with you through the situation. So whatever you're going through today, whether it's a battle, maybe it's a storm, maybe it's a challenge, maybe you're in a really good time and your life is great. But if you're going through a time where you're just like, you don't know if you're going to make it till tomorrow. You don't know how you're going to get through the next week. You don't know how another whole month of this. Well, right now, you need to do something for yourself today. Right now, what can you do today to bring you some peace? What can you do right now to bring you the joy of the Lord as you're walking through this journey?
Sometimes I think those things require, and this is kind of a term that some people don't like, but self-care, right? And loving ourselves enough to take good care of ourselves, to take care of our minds, of our bodies, and of our souls. And that's not selfish. That's not egotistical. That's allowing ourselves, that's like filling our cup, right? So that we can pour into other people's lives, because we've all heard it said, you can't pour from an empty cup. So maybe you need to find an hour today to take yourself out for a walk. Maybe you need to go like wander through the mall and get yourself a coffee and just like let your mind think about something else. Maybe like, what are some other things you can do?
Well, maybe you're going to read a good book. In fact, I'm just reading a good Liz Curtis Higgs book. If you don't know Liz Curtis Higgs, she's a great author, Christian author. And so I'm reading a book. It's just letting my mind go to a different space. And sometimes that's what we need to do so that our minds aren't filled with the challenges all the time, because then we just get mind fatigue and that brings us down even further. So do something for self-care.
Yeah.
Maybe it's going to be light a candle and go soak in a bubble bath. That's a really good thing to do for yourself, for a self-care. And like you said, that's not vain or egotistical. It's loving yourself so that you can make it through today. Regardless of what we do, we need to keep on keeping on. We need to persevere because the Bible tells us to run the race well. So how do we do that? We have to keep pressing on to win the prize. Maybe today's prize is going to be the peace that surpasses all understanding. Maybe you're going to feel the joy of the Lord for the first time in a long time, but we need to press on.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, we didn't say this, but I feel like good input, we should have, is like reading our Bible and making sure that we are praying. Those are crucial if we want to be producing the fruits of the Spirit through challenging seasons. Sometimes we don't say those things because they feel a bit implied, but they're not implied, right? Because how often are we not doing them?
That's right. We have to be intentional to do them every day.
Yeah.
To get us through the day.
Yeah, exactly. And
sometimes we just have to think about the verse where it says, be still and know that I am God. Because even knowing that, it gives us this calm assurance. It's like a peace inside your soul. And so if you're struggling today, we really hope and pray that you will be inspired to do some self-care so that you can make it through your storm. And I just want to say, in the middle of all that, we're wearing these new shirts today, and mine says blessed. Why? because I am blessed. I'm blessed because God loves me. I'm blessed because I can develop the fruit of the Spirit in the midst of a storm.
And mine's from 1 Corinthians 13, love is patient, love is kind, that verse. You can't see the writing very good on camera, but it goes around the heart. If you're looking for good Christian apparel, because it can be hard to find, we've had a hard time sometimes finding it. We've found some. We're going to put the link below for you. You can go check it out for yourself. We'd say probably sizing is true to size.
Yeah, and so really good fabric, good quality.
Yeah.
So if you're looking, go check it out. But as always, we trust that this has encouraged you, that it will give you a little bit of hope for today and for tomorrow. We know that life is hard, but we still have to choose our hard. What are you going to choose? And as always, we like to end our videos by saying, remember, you're still a beautiful woman, chosen for greatness.
And we believe in you.